6 movies in, and Death's Rube Goldberg Killfest just pulled its biggest audience yet. Final Destination Bloodlines isn't just back, it's gorier, dumber, and somehow funnier than ever. We've got Death by MRI, Death by Lawnmower, and even Death by Death. And a tone so cartoonishly brutal, we wouldn't be surprised if the next one features Death by IKEA Bookshelf or Rogue Roomba. But does being more ridiculous automatically mean more fun? Or has the franchise completely jumped the shark, or morgue in this case? This week on the Cinema Psycho Show, we are diving into Final Destination Bloodlines, and we're asking the question, is this the best Final Destination yet? Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Final, coming at the end, being the last in a series, process or progress. There's 6 of these fucking things.
Yeah, there's no final in Final Destination, especially Bloodlines. This week, we are diving into the eternal franchise that seems to never die, even though it's all about death. And that is, of course, Final Destination, with the newest entry, and arguably not the final one, as John pointed out, and that is Final Destination Bloodlines. And, John, we're joined by some extra people today.
I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Somebody's watching us. I don't know about that. But we are joined by 2 local filmmakers who are fresh off of their 48-hour film project journey here in Pittsburgh. And I'm joined by Aero Ray and Jake Hecht, who are filmmakers. Welcome, folks, to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we're happy to be on, doing our thing.
Glad that we can come back after the ER trip.
Yeah. So
I heard the stories.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe you two can fill me in. So I got to meet Jake and Aero while doing interviews for the 40-hour film project, which was first time that we had done this. Actually, we got to bring on our former co-host Lane Wilson to pinch hit for us.
Brian, is that online?
Not yet. They're coming up. I'm in the middle of editing those.
I was gonna say, yeah. For all you Lane brains, you're gonna get to see her again.
For all you Lane brains, but I felt so terrible because Jake and Aero were the last people in line, and there was a massive line. I have never seen a line to get interviewed by me ever. Like, that doesn't happen ever. I'm not a big deal in Pittsburgh at all, even though I act like it. But yeah. Was surprised by the line, was trying to get through everybody. Aero and Jake were the last ones. And Aero, you had to go to the hospital all of a sudden.
Yeah.
What happened?
So because the line was so long and we had just been nominated for so many things, there was a lot of people I wanted to talk to. So I kept coming back to our spot in line and going back up the stairs to talk to people. Now, one of the times when I went back up the stairs, suddenly I collapsed on the stairs. My foot was in immense pain. I couldn't walk on it. Wasn't really sure what was going on. Jake carried me down the stairs and I was like, you know what, we're going to sit here and ice it. I really want to do the interview. So we sat there, iced it. Pain kept getting worse and would not go away. And Jake thought it would be a pretty good idea if we took me to the ER instead. And basically we went, and they don't really know what was wrong with me, and they told me to go buy shoe inserts.
Wow.
Western medicine, baby.
Western medicine.
American medicine.
American. Let's be honest here. That's an American
shoe
thing.
Inserts?
They think that something was maybe I was walking on it wrong, and it was because of the state my shoes were in is about all they gave me. They didn't really do anything else, and they didn't keep me for super long. And so I'm fine now. But we ended up just kind of leaving and not knowing what to do. But the pain was super bad at the time, and I could not walk on my foot anymore.
Well, I got a question. Are you like Magellan? You're so gelling now? Well, now that you have your gel insoles, that's an old commercial.
That's an oldie.
You guys are too young for that.
I was gonna say, Aero just looked at you, John, like you spoke another language. By the way, John and I are old. We're millennials. We are elder millennials. Not even like younger millennials. We're the elder ones. We're 85ers. So yeah,
my sister just missed out on Gen X. Yeah.
Jake and I were talking about this before. I love like the whole franchise of Final Destination, but the first few movies came out before I was born.
Yeah.
Oh dear God and fuck.
And those are the good ones too.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing like the first Final Destination movie that has a plane exploding pre 9/11.
Oh
Yeah.
Yep. I was watching that.
That
And they
was
were like, man, they think. What did he think? He threw a bomb on the plane? Why would he think? I was like, oh wait, this is pre 9/11. This is pre 9/11.
The world was very
Literally
different
the year
and very,
before.
I don't want to say permissive, but just a little. You didn't think that was going to happen.
You didn't have to
Didn't think
take your
that was gonna
shoes off then. You know, it's fine.
No
We
one
were-
was.
we were
remarking about
babies.
Yeah, we were babies. Yeah, nothing bad ever happened before 9/11.
But yeah, as you guys mentioned, you know, we're talking about, you know, Final Destination Bloodlines, the most recent chapter in this. And it's interesting, there's a 14-year gap between part 5 and this one. I guess they figured like absence makes the heart grow fonder, and maybe it's time to dust off the old Final Destination program and just pop another one in there.
Money, John. It's called money. They wanted money, and
Always
Yeah.
about the
and
money.
this is my first point that I want to get across with these newer ones. And I'm curious, Aero, Jake, John, what you all think about this. But I really feel that since, you know, the more revival ones that they've done, you know, like obviously 5 and now I think this was 6, right? That this is really just kind of a cash grab. That really this is playing off of nostalgia
Yeah.
for those earlier films that you all had mentioned, while also kind of making it more so a gimmick film than it ever had been before. Like that's the thing. The one thing people don't get is that Final Destination, the first and second, and honestly the third one too, they had a story.
Yeah.
Like there was an arc.
I mean,
to
this
the
one
characters.
This one does too, Brian. It's razor thin, but my biggest issue is that this movie has no understanding of tone. Like
or physics.
It's well, none of these movies do. It's a Rube Goldberg machine. Yeah, every one of these. But like, we have this family in crisis, being like, "Our family is dying. This is the most horrible thing ever. How are we going to survive?" And then it cuts to Looney Tunes murder, right? You know, and it's what is it? Is it over the top, the most absurdist murder, death, kill you've ever seen? Like a Bugs
Murder,
Bunny,
death, kill.
yeah, cartoon, or is it a family in crisis desperately trying to stay alive? So they want to have their tone and eat it too, I feel, in this movie.
Jake, Aero, what are your thoughts on this?
So I actually like the film, but at the same time, to me, it didn't feel like Final Destination, if that makes sense. Like you could kind of tell where they were going. I also think it was like so heavily geared towards the fans. Like you have the logs at the end that kill them. You have Tony Todd, is that his name?
Yes,
Oh yes,
legend.
You see him in the same way that you see him in the first movie in like the morgue. He's like explaining things. So I think it was definitely a cash grab because you could tell how geared it was towards the fans with how much stuff they put in from the older movies. But I still like the story itself. I thought it was way more. They made it way more comedic than it usually is, also, which wasn't bad in my opinion. Like I thought it was funny. It just didn't feel like Final Destination to me. It felt like a separate like film.
every death had a twist and a twist and a
Yes.
twist, you know, before it happened. But yeah,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts, Jake?
I actually loved the film personally. I liked it a lot better than the first film because that's the film I watched right before it to figure out. Okay, I've never seen Final Destination. I need to study this a little bit.
This was your first time seeing Final Destination? Like the
Yeah,
original?
like the day, like it was like
wow.
The first final.
yeah,
The first final.
The first
the
one-
first final, and so and then Aero like after like showed me like, so here's the death in this, the first initial death in the second one, and I did like the log deaths, but
Everyone loves the log deaths.
The log deaths were fun. I looked at it and I liked it a lot better than the first one, but there were like, obviously there's a couple like small things like in the first movie, like they had the whole like, oh, if death misses you, it's going to move on to the next person in the line and just like in a cycle. Mm-hmm. It seemed like they did away with that rule.
They kept it a little bit in that they said like the you know, if you die and then come back, then it skips you entirely.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that's always kind of. First of all, the rules of these films,
they change.
Have been in they've been in flux forever. You know, like I think part 2 was the one that brought up the whole like, if you flatline, technically death's taking you, so you're good. Like that never was a thing in the first one. It never was a thing in that. I don't think in any other film that's come out since then. So it's always been a rules are whatever the movie says it is type thing. But the only difference is that like the rules always served a story that you're kind of engaged with. And yes, for our video audience, John's dog is attacking his face right now. But just distracting me from my point. But the thing is like with this one, there really wasn't a central like plot to care about. Like I looked at this honestly as like a Lifetime movie with murder, death, kill. Like that's kind of what it felt like to me. Like if you had a family Lifetime movie, this is what you got if you added blood and gore to it. And also that blood and gore was wacky Looney Tunes shenanigans.
It does seem odd that in all of these movies, and I only saw the first 3 and then this one, is that there is no escaping death, no matter what. You know, you could be in a padded room and somehow the building will just collapse. But in this one, just some lady just puts herself in a cabin with electricity, which you think electricity alone would do it, you know, like a faulty wire sets a fire or something. But she just hides in this cabin for like 30 years.
Yeah, and she steps outside her house one time and dies, which actually, might I just say, she was like kind of iconic for that, in my opinion. Like she was so like eager to prove a point that she was like, well, seeing is believing, and then just died right in front of her like grandchild that she's like never met just to prove a point. Like kind of iconic in my opinion. But
I think that was the one where I went, holy shit.
Well, you also got to think she did it for a reason. Like she knew, like the woman had cancer. Death was going to come for that entire family, no matter what. So in a way, it's a sacrificial move of like, well, if I get them to believe now, there's a chance that they can all survive this. Versus like, because like they didn't really skip the order at all in this movie. They just like went one by one, and then just death kept coming after them until like someone died.
And so let's set the foundation of this movie.
Yeah.
It's called Bloodlines. It affects an entire family. So the movie opens up in the 1960s with clearly 2 filmmakers who are known for like Kim Possible and not a whole lot more.
I thought that was super weird when we
was it really Kim Possible?
Yeah, they're like they did, but like some TV director. They've been in the industry. They're paying their dues. But like it opens with the 1960s in a way that only somebody so separated from the 1960s would have viewed the 1960s. It's almost like AI made the 1960s in this movie.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I mean, it was more stylized than anything. Like with the red Cadillac and the music playing and the color palette alone. Like I know what they were going for, but as you said, it did feel kind of phony.
Well, we get this setup, of this like shoddily made hotel restaurant. I'm assuming casino. I'm not sure.
Isn't it basically a knockoff of the Space Needle?
Probably, yeah.
That's
and everybody dies at the beginning because you got to set it up where it's like everybody dies, but we lied to you. Like the main character, our female character, who's an invalid in the woods. Like she saved everybody's lives, which then made Death get all pissed off at her. By the way, Death really sucks at his job, but
Oh, he's terrible.
Yeah, but
he is absolutely terrible at his job. It took him what, like 50 years?
Meanwhile, he's killing other people
50,
in the meantime
60 years to
as he
kill off
screws
all
up
these people?
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she realizes I can't remember how, but she knows that like she's next to die. So spoilers if you haven't seen, I don't know why you're listening to this episode.
Yeah.
Tony Todd was a little boy in the movie at that time, and he helps her fortify a cabin so she can't die. But again,
Well,
death always comes for people.
Can I talk 1 minute
Yeah.
about the cabin? Okay, because I was watching this movie and okay, so let me get this straight here. This woman is afraid that she is going to be killed at any moment, right? Like everything around her is potentially a murder instrument, right? Like everything. Okay. So why then does she build a cabin made out of giant, sharp, pointy sticks, rusted barbed wire,
Dry wood.
away
And the thing is,
from
when you're building it,
no, but just
Yeah.
away from anyone who could possibly save your ass. You're literally serving yourself up on a platter to be killed.
And the thing is, when you're building it, there's going to be saws everywhere,
Saws, all manner of murder instruments. So like, I don't get why. Like, I would have done what Claire did in Final Destination 2, which was get herself committed to a padded room. Why? No sharp, pointy things that could kill her. So yeah, but I think that Iris was dumb.
Well, she lived
Very
she
dumb.
lived a long time. You got to consider death has a design, right? And there's got to be multiple ways.
Yeah.
So in her mind, she probably thought, okay, if I can make the ways I can possibly die as obvious as possible, because she can read what death is doing and causing all kinds of like crazy shit.
Oh yeah, I will say when she was in the house, she was like, "Death thinks that it can catch me off guard, but it can't because I know Death's design," and then stopped. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was like I don't know if there was like the sun was reflecting off a mirror, and there was
well, yeah, she had done one little minor thing, which was she moved like a light or something, and it was causing light to reflect in the mirror, which again, playing to the whole, this is a Rube Goldberg murder machine. Every little thing she did suddenly was like, it's going to kill her. And she's like, aha, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Why doesn't death just give them lymphoma, by the way?
That mean it was. That's what it did to her.
I mean,
death did give her cancer.
It did give her lymphoma. Give cancer.
Give everybody a stroke. You don't have to go through this pinball machine of doom, just to murder people.
I think death gets off on the pinball machine of doom.
I was kind of wondering how she did find out that she was diagnosed, because she does say to her granddaughter, like, I was just recently diagnosed with cancer, but how would you know if you never leave your house?
I was going to say, I don't think telehealth is going to diagnose your cancer over the phone.
Hey, doc, look at these lumps. These look normal. Yeah.
The only thing I think of is that Tony Todd showed up and said, yeah, because I work in a morgue, I've seen a lot of cancerous lesions. And that's totally a cancerous lesion.
I mean,
you're dying. Here's some meds.
Death did give him cancer too. Like both of the people.
Yeah.
Is cancer just death's way of being like, look, this is the easy way out.
You beat me.
You're not beating me game.
Well, yeah, and for again, for those that haven't seen, so when she dies, apparently death has decided for the first time really in this series, because there's usually like 7 or 8 people that survive and it comes to them one by one, but now it's going to affect the bloodline of this woman who survived in this cabin for so long, like her entire family bloodline.
There's a reason why, though. And the reason is because had she died in the discount Space Needle, her family would not exist.
Yeah.
So her kids wouldn't exist. Their kids wouldn't exist. So it's more or less Death going, I'm correcting my ledger for people that should not exist.
Mm-hmm. And
Again,
that was the
Death
same
sucks at
for
his job.
everyone else that was in the Space Needle that day, is that they also went on to have families that never should have existed, and so their bloodlines have all been killed too, or are still going to continue to be if they aren't already. And that was kind of like the whole point. But I don't know why it took so long to get to this bloodline specifically, if they mentioned that, if so many of them had already died, like the kids that
It
they
had to get to this point because we needed a lot of people to kill.
Yes.
In a
We
movie.
had- Aero, we had 5 other movies that had to happen first.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 movies had to happen. We're to surmise, at least in my head, I surmise that those people were descendants of those people in the Space Needle. That's in my head. I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, just because of the fact that like there's references in Iris's book to the previous movies.
Yeah.
So that's my thinking of like Iris is the last person left, and
Mhm.
that's really like everyone else is somehow related to that Space Needle.
So do you think any of those characters relate back to like Alex at all, since he was the first one to ever have any like
I don't think they relate directly. I think that there's probably something related to Alex in that Space Needle. Like that's it, in essence, the movie kind of tells you that in more or less words. It doesn't really say like that's a separate thing. It kind of makes it known like they're all connected. So we're to infer as the audience that, okay, well, the other movies are connected too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and if they do a 6th one, I'm sure they'll fill
This
in
is
the
the 6th
gaps.
one.
Or 7th one, excuse me. They'll fill in the gaps. But I love the idea, though, that this place would build a glass floor that if maybe like 15 people in high heels start like, moving and shaking to the Temptations or whatever, that they'll just fall through the floor.
I gotta say something. Yeah. Okay. Are we to infer that all of this got started because of a fucking penny?
It's the randomness, Brian, right?
Death
It's the
has a
randomness.
design.
I'm just a penny?
Dude,
Apparently,
the most
if you're
inane
killing people
cent?
for a living, like, you gotta get bored at some point. You gotta make it fun for
But a fucking penny. But it's
There's no plague for a while.
No, but I'm just I watch this. I'm just like, no fucking way. A penny is the thing that caused everything. Because I mean, I'm like, oh well, shoddy workmanship on the glass. They rushed it. They got it done 5 months ahead of schedule. I'm like, okay, those things are gonna get. No, it's a fucking 1 cent piece.
I will say also in the beginning when they're like walking in, the radio is playing Ring of Fire, and in the past movies you see like things hinting at like the way that they're going to die. So I was like, oh, obviously the building's going to like catch on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of does, but like
kind of
like that. I don't know. I thought like if we're relating back or hinting back to like past things in all the other movies, that would have been like the way to do it. You have the music playing. It's obvious. It's like you're obviously hinting that like the building's probably going to be on fire. But then we go with the penny, the kid with the penny instead. Like that's really what we're doing.
I gotta say though, I cracked the fuck up when that kid got killed.
That kid.
Yeah, that was really funny.
That kid died, and I.
But he's like, what?
Laughed.
Okay. There's a lot of kills in these movies that prove that I'm a horrible human being because I laugh at them. When Final Destination 2 came out and it came out on DVD, I remember renting it, and the first time that I think it was like a pane of glass or something like squished that kid, I remember like going one frame at a time, and like it was the first time I've ever seen like a holy shit moment in a movie like that, and I remember going one frame at a time to see the kid get squished. And it was the same thing with this movie with that kid who like goes, he's a little shit, and he runs out, he saves himself, and he's like, ha, 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 and he gets smushed by a piano.
And for the two of you who are confused what Brian means by going and renting it, there used to be tangible structures, sometimes in grocery stores, called
I'm
Giant
not
Eagle.
that young. I'm not
That-
that
I remember Blockbuster.
Back in my day, we had to go to the video store.
And
It was
you'd be
a
like-
video store, and you would have to give them a card,
Look
and
at
it would
this
be your
thumb
membership.
smudges on this disc.
Look at the scratches on the disc. I can't play the scratch disc in my DVD machine.
I too had DVDs when I was a kid. I'm not that much of a child.
But you were a kid. We were grown-ups at that time.
Okay, actually,
we could be
that's
drafted to
very
war.
fair.
Yes, we could be drafted to the wars.
Hey, I can no longer be
The multiverse.
drafted, I'm pretty sure. So I'm out of the clear. I'm old enough.
Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. I look at the news. They're lowering the standards as we speak. Oh,
But one thing that I think is very interesting about this movie is that like there are so many characters, and to me this speaks to not a great film, because like if it's a great movie, I know all the characters. Like I know Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, right? Like good movie. But like there's a huge family of people, and I know them as person 1 who dies, person 2 who dies. I don't know any of their names.
No.
I don't know. I mean, obviously you can guess what their relation is to the other characters by their age, but I'm like, these people are just generic fill-ins who are here to die in the most, like I kept expecting like Looney Tunes come in after everybody dies. But yeah, other than like our main, I guess we'd say 3, the mom and the 2 kids. Like, I don't know. I mean, I remember one kid had a peanut thing, but I don't remember his name, you know? And there was the tattoo guy. I don't remember his name. You know?
Everyone seems to like the tattoo guy. I found him to be very annoying.
But at least he stands out.
Oh, that was the whole thing,
His
and that's
death
it.
was the funniest. Out of
His
all of
death
them.
was
With
Oh,
the
yeah.
best.
Can we talk about
His dick
that though?
exploded.
Well, can we talk about that though? Can we talk about just favorite deaths in this movie? So I think let's start with the piercing annoying guy and his death, because
That was my favorite.
That was your. Okay,
I like when a dick explodes.
Okay, John, please explain. Explain this. Set the stage.
All right.
For our listeners and viewers here.
So our Rube Goldberg machine is, we get a fake out because the idea is that blonde guy, family member, like
Blonde brother
has a peanut allergy.
Yes.
And the idea is like they're going to kill him with peanuts and then bring him back to life and stop the problem. You know, like all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies where you learn a new way to defeat Freddy. So this is this movie's thing of that. And of course they have like Chekhov's spring where it looks like the spring's about to jump out and go, oh, it's going to stab him in the head. No. Oh, okay. All right. I see what you're doing. You're playing the long game here again, movie. And then they go into a room that has an MRI machine, which are magnetic.
Yes.
And accidentally trigger the Rube Goldberg machine of turning up the magnetism. And in the room, the brother has all these piercings: nipples, tongue, nose, ears, and cock. He's got the ladder. He's got Jacob's ladder.
My ladder.
Available now.
Not
No.
Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not Tim Robbins' Jacob's Ladder. Don't rent that thinking it's a porno. It's not. But yeah, and it starts, the magnetism is ripping his piercings out of every part of his body. And you can see very cartoonishly like a Play-Doh dick. I mean, it's CGI, like stretching in his pants because his Jacob ladder is trying to rip off. Gets sucked almost in the MRI machine with a wheelchair behind him, disintegrating his body as the MRI machine is trying to suck the wheelchair.
Well, it's a 2 for 1,
him.
John. You got to. You're forgetting it's a 2 for 1 because both brothers die.
Yes. Well, and then the big M. Night Shyamalan, what a twist, was that a nurse opens the door and all the like surgical tools fly in and like, oh, this is it. And they miss him. And he's like, oh, I fooled you, death. And then wouldn't you know it, that Chekhov spring jumps out of that snack machine and saws his head apart.
I did think it would. I did actually really like how detailed they were with everything. That like you saw it before, and that it like doesn't go unnoticed, and it still means something later, even if it didn't mean something now. Like I really like that you see the spring, but it's like we kind of ignore it, but it comes back, and that's what ends up killing him. And it's not the peanut allergy or the other things getting thrown at him or the MRI machine, but it's that goes into his head, and then it's like you got the 2-for-1 kill right there. I really like that they did that. Actually,
Well, Aero and
everything goes
Jake.
unnoticed.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, but Aero, Jake, would you agree that this is what we could call a gorno? It's like a gory porno where it's some people are literally here just to see as graphic of a violent death scene as humanly possible.
For this one, I would say probably yeah, because even like you're saying, you don't remember the characters. There was so many of them, you don't know their names, and it's like because of that, there's no like room for a character arc. There's no room for you to connect with them. There's no room for you to get to know them. Not that I know too many people that are really connecting with like the characters in the other Final Destination movies, considering it's Final Destination. But like you get to know like Alex in the first one. Claire.
I think it's Clear. It's
I
Clear.
was gonna say I looked it up and it said Clear, and I was like, "What an interesting name for a person."
They want you to remember it.
2000s name.
But then, like
okay.
she's still in 2. Like you get to know her more because she's in the first and the second one, and like I thought it was really interesting, and like I also like the movies so much because they are like a little bit bad. And like the writing in the first one is really not great, but I think that's why I love it so much, is because it's not like the greatest thing you'll ever see, and there's like just like a touch of camp to it, especially in the third one when like the 2 girls die from like the tanning beds. I think that's the third one.
Yeah, I think that's the one with the roller coaster.
Yeah, that's the roller coaster one, and that was very camp to me, the tanning bed death. But it's like you kind of get to know their personality and like what they're into and what they like. And it's like you didn't get that with any of the other characters other than like kind of the tattoo guy, because he's like depressed and emo and does tattoo stuff, and
he looks unique.
Epic tattoo playlist versus sad music playlist, and that's like the extent that you get to like know him.
Well, no, he cares about his brother. You know, like he's a very caring guy underneath his harsh exterior.
He cares so much he wants to kill him.
Yes.
I do like the death fake out that we had there, though. Like, basically, like when they had that whole entire scene where like his piercings like hung on the freaking like ceiling fan and like the fire's going, you're thinking, oh, he's dead. And he shows up and he's like, oh, you're not dead. And the reason why, that just happened to be a coincidence, I think. A funny coincidence, because he was not a legitimate son of the dad in the film.
Yeah, and then he still dies anyways.
Because he messed with Death's design.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was mocking Death's design.
Yeah.
But yeah, they even say that like it gets like fucked up when you things get messy. AKA the producers went, there hasn't been a death in a while. Gotta kill somebody.
Well, I gotta say, like I think one of my favorites was, I mean, they were all great. And great being like I cracked up at every single one of them because I'm a horrible human being. But the dad dying, that first one, that one had me laughing with the lawnmower, because like they played, John, you mentioned playing the long game because of that spring. So this one plays the long game across scenes because they introduce the dad, they get real close on the camera on the lawnmower, so cueing us that hey, something's going to happen later with the lawnmower. Scenes later, we've got them all hanging out, partying at a backyard barbecue after their, the grandmother dies, which leads me to think like, what, okay, is that what we're doing?
They're all grateful she's dead.
They're all.
Let's go eat ribs.
But like, they're not having a somber like someone in your family died. I mean, I know they all hated her, but like they're enjoying it a little way too much. Like you might, Like they're really like, hey, let's go get the slip and slide out, guys. Like they're that close.
A little Arnold Palmer with a little Sky Vodka. It's not gonna hurt anybody.
But the dad is so fucking laissez-faire about everything and just so over the top, happy-go-lucky. Like, yay, my mom's dead, and now I'm gonna go party like it's 1999 in my backyard, and like immediately we think he's gonna die in a certain way, and the movie does a great job of this. I'll give this credit. It does a good bait and switch. We think that he's gonna like choke on a shard of glass because everything has been pointing to that, but no. We don't see that at all. Instead, what we get is he steps on the giant shard of glass, falls backwards. We think he's going to get hit by like some rake or something. No, it's the fucking lawnmower. Mulches his face.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, there's so many sequels now.
And I'm like,
you can't just have a death. Like you can't, can't have just like the guy's drinking his Arnold Palmer in the backyard and John Landis is directing a helicopter scene that lands on him or something.
I waited for you to go there. I was like, hey, you're going to go there.
It's got to be like, oh, well, here's a piece of glass, but what a twist and a twist and a twist upon the twist and upon a twist and twist. And now a lawnmower eats his face.
But I know for me, like I was busting out laughing when that happened because the movie, to its credit, did do a good job of leading me in an area where I didn't think it was going to go. I had no clue that he was going to get mulched up by the lawnmower, and they, to the movie's credit, showed all of it. But yeah, that was my favorite. Jake, I want to ask you, what was your favorite kill?
Okay, well, we've already mentioned the dick piercing, so I've got to move on. Yeah. I like the last kill so much because
the
the logs.
That was
just
good.
because they thought they were safe, and like this entire time, like Death is so patient. Death waited until the one guy went, well, you didn't technically die, you just lost consciousness. He brought.
No doctor ever says that, by the way. I don't know any doctor who's like, hey, nice to meet you. By the way, you didn't technically die.
Brian, I thought the exact same thing, but the movie needed to happen.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, John. I was like, no,
nobody would really say this.
There.
Yeah.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm glad you're taking my daughter out.
You didn't really die, ass fuck.
By the way, you didn't really save anybody.
You fucking pussy. You didn't die. But no, but the last one, and Jake, sorry to like take a poo in your Cheerios, but I hate what I call like mindlessly nihilistic horror movies where none of it mattered, nothing mattered, everyone died at the end, so you can get the big cheap thrill where you throw your popcorn at the air right at the end of the movie and nothing mattered at all the entire time. And then cut to credits with whatever popular singer you can put at the end of the movie. It's so cheap. I think of movies like The Exorcist or Halloween where at the end of it our heroes win but evil's still out there. You can be ominous and actually give a conclusion to a 3-act structure where I think I still know what you did last summer. And I don't know if it's supposed to be a dream sequence, but in that movie, Jennifer Love Hewitt survived again. And then she's pulled under her bed at the end of the movie and is presumably murdered. Clearly not, because she's in the reboot or whatever, soft sequel boot, whatever you want to call it. But it's just kind of like, fuck you. And the time you spent caring about these characters, they're all dead. I think that's just cheap shot artist stuff. I don't care for it.
Jake, you got to retort to
that. The purpose of going to the movies for certain movies is you want to have fun. You want to enjoy what you're doing. And for me, I actually like that. Like, my brain immediately went, well, it's obviously one of them's going to live. Like, I expected at least 1 to 2 characters to live. That's the ending I thought I was going to get. And honestly, the movie doesn't take itself too seriously. And me being me, I'm a big proponent of making people laugh and being comedic personally. And so I see something like that and it's just like, okay, like the movie knows it's a long running series. It knows it's calling back. It's a very fan servicey film. So when you look at it as a whole, to me, the purpose of a film is to entertain your audience. And I think the end does do that, even if it's not your cup of tea. Like, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it really are that I knew what this movie was when I went to go see it. I went to go watch it. I knew what it was. It's the sixth one in the series. It's not going to be Sophie's Choice. It's not going to be, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, and I would never expect it to be that. I think the only thing that I would have liked to have seen more of, and this is just me, is that there be a little bit of concern to the overall story and the plot and the arc there, because there really wasn't. And if you think about it that way, it's like, yes, this movie exists purely, in my opinion, as a series of clips. Like you've got murder clips, and we strung them together in a very loose way.
There's no story at all in between any of the kills.
Yeah, and there's something wrong with that. And I think that there's a fan base for it. And if you're really just looking for that, okay, great. But it doesn't do anything beyond that. And if you're okay with that, great. If you're like me and you want just a tiny bit more, then you kind of are left lacking. I think that's where John's coming from, is that, you're supposed to care about these characters because that's how we as people get engaged with the film. Is we want to make sure that our characters are okay.
It's the puzzle of how they're going to survive, right?
Yeah. And it's like, are they going to make it out? Mm-hmm. Yes or no? And like every movie, for the most part, I mean, I didn't see the last one, or 4 for that matter. I saw 1, 2, and 3. But they for the most part do make it, and it's only in the sequels where it's inferred that no, they fucking died, in some horrible, like, mangled way. Like 2 shows that Alex died, I think in Paris or London or something like that, and Claire dies in there. So it's thing. But the only reason we care is because there was concern in the story building that we're supposed to care about them. And I think the thing is that with this one, it feels like really the character's just there to get slaughtered, and that's it. I almost look at it as like this is kind of, a funnier version of Terrifier 1, 2, and 3.
It takes all the stakes out of it. Like if we know that nobody's going to survive or just die in the sequel, I compare that to like Friday the 13th Part 1 and Part 2. And these aren't films I hold in high esteem. They're kind of my final destination. I watch them because they're just garbage. And I love, it's just like, I'm going to shut my brain off and watch garbage. But, in the second one, and there were other reasons why the final girl in the first movie was killed off in the second one. She had a stalker and she wanted to leave Hollywood, but they just, okay, this is the person that survived in the last movie, and Jason comes to her apartment somehow in New York, kills her. All right, he's going to go back to Cram Crystal Lake. Let's start over. And it's just like, well, that takes all the stakes out of it. The only thing that kept Nightmare on Elm Street from being a 10 out of 10 for me was the bullshit ending of Mother's foam body getting pulled into the door by Freddy.
It's
at
still
the end.
Fucking 10 out of 10. I don't care.
It's an 8 out of 10 for me for that reason.
Oh no, fuck that shit. But, it's still a 10 out of 10.
Brian, I'm sure you've seen the one alternate ending where they pull at the top and the car is driving off and there are just little girls, jump roping, and they look just like the 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. And the idea that, like, are they going to be traumatized by this forever? Is Freddy still out there? Like, anything, could happen. That is a 10 out of 10 ending, but no, they had to pull a foam puppet through a fucking window.
Do you know why they did that, though?
Why?
Because that ending didn't test well.
Well, fuck the test audience.
No, but I'm telling you, that is why they did it. And keep in mind, this is New Line Cinema. I know we're
schlock.
This is New Line Cinema, and this was their first really big film. Okay, their first really big film. There's a reason why Nightmare on Elm Street is considered the film that built New Line Cinema. So they had to knock it out of the park somewhere, and they really weren't thinking about, what's the smartest way to end it. And I clearly know that I'm pretty sure that was not a Wes Craven thing.
No.
I don't think he chose.
I don't
that
think he was
ending.
even on set.
No, I don't think that was the case either. But like, I just getting back to the point. They were thinking about it in terms of who's the audience here. Teenagers in the 80s. They want to see some blood and gore and titties. That's it. That's it. Like, that's what they wanted.
Hopefully, your lady is like a little tuned on her Bartley and James. You snuck into the theater, and then afterward, the big scare at the end, you may be able to get some sticky fumblings in the back of your mom's 1976 Geo. You know,
it's very, very specific.
That is very specific.
Very, very
you just come up with that on the spot, or
he actually did. Like, that's his gift. He does that. So, Death stalking everybody in this. We talked about kind of our favorite deaths in this. It's wouldn't be talking about Final Destination without discussing the late great Tony Todd.
Oh yes.
So I don't know about you, like,
love to see him.
It was hard to watch him knowing that he was really sick at the end.
Oh yeah.
I don't mean to bring this about me, but here I go.
Here you go, John. It's a podcast. Bring it about you.
Tony Todd, there is one of the world's most famous playwrights, August Wilson. And there was a play made about August Wilson where an actor would portray August Wilson on set talking about all of his plays, his world famous plays, Fences, many others. And Tony was, and August Wilson is from Pittsburgh, where Brian and I are from. Well, obviously, Aero and Jake, you guys are from Pittsburgh too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all Yinzers.
Yeah, we're all Yinzers. And so he was coming to Pittsburgh, and so I just accidentally picked the right time to reach out to him. And I was like, hey, Tony, you're prolific. I'd love to have you on the show on my YouTube channel. And I think he's only said yes because he's like, well, shit, I'm going to be in Pittsburgh. This is just another drop on my promotional bucket or marketing tour. And we were never able to figure it out. The show came and went. Every other month or so, I kept reaching out to him on his private email and stuff. And he just ghosted me. And I was like, shit, I took my one window and I didn't get to interview Tony. I'm like, well, maybe somewhere down the line. And now the legend is dead. And I will never get that chance. And so that is, talk about the one that got away. I will never, ever be able to interview Tony Todd now. And boy, am I sad I missed that rare window to talk to the man.
Yeah. Aero, Jake, what were your thoughts on kind of Tony Todd in this film?
So I didn't actually realize that this was the last film that he ever got to do. I do think that, like, when you're such, like, a legendary person in film like that, to, like, go and reprise a role you did, like, before I was born, because it's that iconic of a franchise, I thought that was, like, really cool to see him back, especially in the same way that he's, like, there in the morgue, and it's like...
Well, he kind of ends up showing up in just about every one of these. Like, that's kind of the running... Yeah, he's kind of a running gag in this series of... He shows up in some degree.
Paycheck for Tony, yeah.
I thought he was only in the first one.
No. He was. I'm pretty sure he's been in just about every one of these.
He's kind of like Sam Jackson in the Marvel movies. Like, he shows up like near the end, you know.
Yeah.
Well, my point still stands. I like that he was still there when you're that legendary of a person in film, and then you're also staying true to, like, the franchise, because it was also very fan-based this time, with him being there with the logs, with a lot of the things that they call back to, which is also why I find it, like, a little bit interesting that everyone dies at the end, because that's not what they typically do. At least usually there's a few survivors. So I thought it was really, like, this is really for the fans. Actually, it's not, because everyone dies. It's like they kind of threw you for a loop there, I feel like, when nobody survived.
Unless you think that everyone dying is for the fans. Like,
maybe.
That's the whole, like, gimmick, you know.
Again with like there not being really any room for, like, a character story in this one, it's like you can't connect to them at all. You're not really upset when they're dying because there was no story for them. When you find out in like the first one and then you watch the second one, Alex is no longer there. I liked Alex. Alex had a story. I was upset when we find out that he dies because I thought Alex was a cool character. I wasn't sitting there being like, oh man, I really wish Jacob's ladder guy didn't go out like that. It was like, oh, he's dead now, like whatever.
Oh, Jake, what was your thoughts about Tony Todd? I'm just curious.
I can tell you my live reaction in theater.
What was
my
your
live reaction was like elbowing Aero and being like, Aero, it's the guy from the first movie. And they were like, I know. Like, watch the movie. Shut up. I'm like, no, like snapping my fingers like Leonardo DiCaprio, like pointing at the screen, like, oh my God, this. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
It's, one thing I want to point out about this was the director gave Tony Todd, who was on Death's Door at this time, to basically improv whatever he wanted as his last lines.
Yeah.
So the whole thing, like, live your life and enjoy every minute, I'm paraphrasing, is that that is just
that's actually him saying it.
That's Tony Todd saying that, not the character to the audience, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah, because that is like the last thing he says before he walks through the door. Is like, you only have so much of life, like enjoy it. And
that was all improv. That was he
literally
had asked him if he could change the lines to something else as a kind of a last send off to his fans, because he's gone to conventions. I think he did Horror Realm.
Did he?
I think
cool.
I think so. I think he did.
For us non-Pittsburgh people, that is a huge festival thing here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Huge horror film festival. Yeah. But yeah, he, obviously a lot of people know him from before even this, Candyman being the
best horror movie of the decade.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best horror movies of the 90s, and really kind of being known for that. And then Final Destination really gave him his career like a second life in horror. Like it's kind of kept it going. But I thought it was great to see him. And, it was, the only thing that was hard was just seeing him that sick. Especially when you look at him in previous films where he's, he's very gaunt in this film. And you clearly tell like he's just fighting to do the best he can.
It reminded me of Twin Peaks season 3 for all of you Twin Peaks fans. If you're not, I'll explain. There was a lady on the original run, the log lady, and she was dying around the time of season 3. And because of her loyalty to David Lynch, she literally zoomed her role in, where she got in her costume, she held the log, and she just read her lines in a recorded Zoom channel, and they put it into the show because that's how important she was. But that is all she was able to do, and it was so tough. It was so tough looking at her, like, weeks before death, but so committed to the performance. So yeah, well, it's interesting when you talk about a movie like Final Destination about death comes for us all. It does eventually, even if we don't trick it. It's a rather morose, depressing kind of thing to think about.
Well, you also got to think there is a running theme of like enjoying your life while you have it, because like the woman that survives like that entire thing and like goes kind of nuts worrying about death and her family the entire time, like she worries to the point where she drives them away. Like the life, she lived a long time, but the life she lived obviously was not a very fulfilling one at all.
Yeah, and she fucked up her daughter, and then her daughter like abandoned her family because all she could see is ways these kids could die.
The only thing I would go with is that if there's anyone who cares about their family more than anyone, it was Iris, because she sacrificed her own life to keep everyone safe, despite everyone hating her. Like that, if you think about it that way, like if she just let everyone die, let herself die, and just went on living, it would have killed everyone in her family. So like I kind of look at it as like, yeah, she was batshit nuts, Yeah, she surrounded herself with all manner of things that could kill her, which still make no sense to me. But she did it to sacrifice for her family.
Was she bats at nuts, Brian, if she was right?
I mean, true. The way she went about things was kind of batshit nuts. But I mean, paranoid is probably the word I would use more than anything. But it just feels to me like she cared most because she sacrificed her life for them all.
Yeah. And even
by
her
not living.
daughter at that time was willing to do that for her kids. And obviously she didn't get to because she died. But you see that how much of like her mother had an effect on her, that she also left her family, but then was still willing to like sacrifice her life for her kids and for the rest of her family so they would be safe.
What's so interesting is I feel like us discussing this, we're giving more credence to the movie than the movie gave to itself. Like they could have fleshed this out. They could have made this more thoughtful and more impactful. No, but instead it's like, no, you want to see how death works? I'm going to step outside and something from the sky is going to crush my brain. And then, you know, and then mom's like, I need to protect you kids. Oh, maybe you should drive, honey. You know, it's like the movie almost steps on its own neck in terms of what any type of thoughtful messaging is trying to get across.
Again, I go back to this movie is popcorn. This movie is junk food.
Yeah.
This movie is not supposed to be that. And that's a thing where if you want that, this movie has it in spades. When we talked about Terrifier 3, like John and I, we really didn't care for it. It's not our thing. Does that mean that we hate horror movies? Fuck no. We love horror movies. That's one of our favorite genres. But that particular offering doesn't really scratch our itch of needing more substance.
It's for a different audience.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Not every horror movie has to be Robert Eggers' Nosferatu or The Lighthouse or you know, some elevated horror junk from A24. It doesn't have to be that. But I think like beyond just watching this one time, like I'll be perfectly honest with you all, I probably won't ever watch this again. Like this is not one I'm going to repeat watch. However, Final Destination, the first one, that one I have seen a bunch of times. Part of that's nostalgia, and then the other part of it is like it's the first time that I saw that, so it's also got a bit more story to it. So I think it lends itself to that.
I think it's a lot of these movies that have multiple sequels. Like if you like the premise, you're gonna keep coming back. And Brian, as you mentioned, it's not for the characters. It's not for anything. Like if you like watching a Hockey Max Jason kill a bunch of people in the woods, you're gonna keep coming back. If you like watching Jigsaw create a bunch of elaborate puzzles and ripping people's faces off, that's what you're gonna keep coming back for. If you like that a bunch of people cheated death and they're gonna die, that's what you're going to keep coming back for. Like it's your thing. It's your shtick. It's what you're entertained by. You know, and a lot of people give me flack for it. I'm a fan of professional wrestling, and people are like, how many different steel cages or Hell in a Cells or no holds barred matches can you watch? It's like, I keep coming back for it because it's my thing, you know? And so other people might be baffled by it, but if it's your thing, there's no question to be asked. It's like, sign me up for the next one.
Go ahead.
No,
Jake.
you talked about like why she picked like the location she lived the rest of her life out in, like trying to survive death with like all this death.
Yeah, or murder cabin.
Part of me thinks, because like I think she made it that way to create so many different obvious ways for death to kill her.
Interesting.
Because like the whole point of ability to avoid death is just being able to predict what's happening. So in a way, she could very easily see everything coming because it was intentionally set up that way with JB to really see all the possible ways that she could die herself. So that way, because the easier it is to see death's design, the easier it is to avoid.
So it's
Yeah,
like
and
surround
even
yourself with
that
all the murder
was
implements,
enough,
and
too.
death will be able to pick.
Just
one
walk
you'll be able
with
to see
a
it.
with a X-Acto knife right next to your eye at all times. Aha! Got you, Death. No, I see. What
No,
you're
I mean,
saying.
Alex did it
Yeah.
in the
You
first movie in my brain because I saw him and I was just like, he had like a lamp and he was like tying himself up. And he was like, oh, I could see. Like,
I do kind of wish they stayed a little more. Sorry.
no, go on.
Oh, go ahead.
I do kind of wish they stayed a little more true to that because you see the daughter whose name I can't remember because we don't get to know her that well, who's like she's walking on the sidewalk and there's like the guy with the leaf blower, there's the kids with the soccer ball, and she's like you can kind of point out and like see Death's design. But it was like those were more of like observations, I feel like, of ways people could have died rather than like premonitions, is that what they're called?
Yep.
Maybe. And where it's like with Alex, like he could physically see what was going to happen and that's why he was able to stop it. Or it was like there was one time I think something like fell into his lap and it was like the one kid's name and it was like that was the next kid who had like died and he tried to go to their house to save them but it was already too late. It wasn't like the same as like, oh, I know you're gonna die so I can get there and like help you to come save you. It was more of just like she had more knowledge about it now and was able to like kind of figure it out and like notice certain things, but she wasn't really like seeing Death's design.
Yeah,
in the
they
way
abandoned the premonition thing halfway through the movie.
Exactly, yeah.
Like they started down that path with the whole
And I thought
nightmares and all that stuff.
The dreams, it's like we're gonna
Yeah.
lead with 2 months of the same exact dream and then just
Mhm.
abandon that. I thought that was kind of weird.
They needed to set up a reason for her to go see Game, you know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like we're kind of like coming to the end of this, you know. But I just want to get unnecessarily philosophical on you guys.
Oh.
So the idea is that death is certain, and if you fuck with it, it'll correct itself. Is this film essentially suggesting that we have no control over our own fate, that nothing we do really matters, and that our lives are essentially meaningless because as when death wants to take us, it will? So that if your child is shot up in an elementary school, that was meant to be, and there was nothing you could do, and that life is essentially meaningless because we're all destined to die whenever fate wants to take us, i.e. death.
So,
Aero, Jake, you want to take a
no,
stab
I'll
at
take a
that?
stab at it. I'll try my best to stab you.
Like,
Okay.
I'm scared for whatever you're about to say following that.
Well, yeah, you could take it that way, but you could also view it as like, yes, we do, like, yeah, death could take us anytime, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to control it. It means we should try to enjoy the things that we have while we have them. You know, like, you gotta live your life.
Like Tony Todd said.
Yeah, you gotta live your life the way you want to live it while you can. Because the moment all these characters kind of like figured out, like, oh, I could die, their lives went to shit. But before that, they didn't have a care in the world. They just went about their business. You know?
Because even when the characters at the end think they're safe, it's like you see the one kid going to prom. Like, they seem pretty happy. It's like once they were aware that death was coming for them, that's when they freaked the fuck out. And that's when things got messy because they all did start to die. But when they weren't thinking about that and they were actually enjoying life, that's when things weren't an issue. Until the doctor comes in, he's like, "Well, he didn't really die," and then they die.
Really
But
saves me.
for a minute,
So
they
in
were
essence,
happy again.
Yeah, one thing they
So in
did
essence,
do,
the movie is preaching ignorance.
yeah, one thing they did do I really liked, they had a drone shot of them coming down on that grad party, but it started out as a Dutch angle and then twisted more into like a normal shot. So in my mind, that kind of built that sense of comfort of a return to normalcy. Like, everything's returning to as normal as it possibly can be after like a very traumatic time. So I don't know. I saw that, and that's the one thing that stuck with me was like Dutch angle, turn into a normal shot, come down onto like that. Everything returned to normal and how you should be living your life as opposed to just living in fear.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of took it as like if we think about death in the same way that we view, a traditional slasher film, that's kind of what this is. It's like instead of it being a Freddy Krueger or a Jason or Art the Clown, it's the specter of death and death killing you in a million different ways, right? I do think that there are some to kind of John's point. I do think this is kind of preaching like, don't be too smart for your own fucking good, because guess what? You can be killed. So don't try to get answers to things that you shouldn't get answers to, because we'll just kill you. So it is kind of preaching, at least in my mind, like, if we really want to get philosophical, this movie very much is saying, like, stay ignorant as much as you can, because the knowledge has a risk, and the risk is you'll die.
Mhm.
You know?
It's kind of, it's Ayn Randian nihilistic, like, don't ever do anything, because the more you try to be a part of society, the more likely you are to die. And it's random. And you'll just die no matter what you do that is promising. And I guess people could say, well, that is life. How come babies get cancer? But it's such a morosely negative ideology to base your film franchise on.
Yeah. But it works. They made 6 of these things.
I mean, some babies got to get cancer. That's just how it is.
Jake, stop.
Some baby's gonna get it.
Some babies gotta get. I never thought in 300 and John, like 57 episodes.
I think we're 1,914.
I never thought I'd hear the words "some babies gotta get cancer."
Some babies have to get cancer because.
Oh,
Look,
I think we're losing the plot a little bit
no,
here.
listen. Just because
It's okay. We're at the end.
Final
if you
Destination
believe in
7.
heaven, you have
Babies
to believe
getting
in hell.
cancer.
So if you believe in babies without cancer, you have to believe in babies with cancer. Is what you gotta say there.
Well,
Is this the hill you want to die on, Jake?
Yeah.
Well, that's another.
We should burn this bridge now and continue on to something else.
I think, like, all through Jake obviously being sardonic, like, and I don't expect an answer in this, but like, I think what we're actually opening another wheelhouse into is this movie suggesting there is a God and a devil, and that the Christianic belief is correct.
Who's given who the premonitions? That's what I want to know. Is that God? Is God given premonitions and the death is just
I just
enacted? Is that what's going on?
I think we overthought this.
franchise a little too much. Let's peel it back here. Final thoughts on Final Destination Bloodlines before we talk about your experience in the 40-hour film project.
Who do you want to go first?
Have 2 final thoughts.
Okay.
So when I see movies that I think are going to be interesting or I usually really like, or just in general when I go to like a theater specifically rather than watching it at home, I usually write down stuff or take notes to give me like inspiration for anything in the future, like that I may or may not create, who knows. But for this, I didn't do that, and the only thing that I wrote down for the entire movie while I was in the theater is, why does death have pronouns? And why is it he?
Oh, point. Well, I think I can answer that, because only a man would be such a piece of shit.
I can completely agree with that. I was going to say, only a guy would be the one. But at the same time, why are we calling death as if it's like a person? And it's, I don't know. I guess I've never noticed that before. Jake said that is a reoccurring theme, that they refer to death as he throughout the other movies. I don't know why I only noticed it in this one, but they're like, he's right there. I can see him. And it's like,
well,
something
it goes back.
And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it goes back to religion, like, he is the Lord, he is our Father, like, he, God above, like, like, when, for thousands of years, if we wanted to give power to anything that was otherworldly, we said he, for worse or for worse, that's what we did, unless it's Mother Nature,
Jake, you got some final thoughts on Final Destination Bloodlines?
I feel like this is a film that is made for this current generation, in my mind, because what I've been taught, because I'm a digital content creation fellow at the Warhol, we do like the first thing we're taught is like your audience has a very short attention span. You got like 3 seconds maybe to catch someone's attention. This movie really leans into that more, grabbing your attention and keeping it as opposed to anything else. Because even in the lulls, it does keep your attention, whether it's like edging you like on the edge of your seat, like being like, oh, this is how it's going to happen. But how creative is it going to be? That's really my takeaway from it, is it's more of a film made for the current generation who has a very short attention span, is there just to have fun and watch a movie. That's my big takeaway.
Yeah. John, your final thoughts?
I just want to say, Jake, bravo. I think that is actually a very good point. My cynical point of view is, they wanted to dust off a franchise that they thought, well, maybe the 4th or 5th one weren't taken as well, but we let enough time go by that we can kind of just give new life into this. And maybe, just maybe, if it's successful, we could start a whole nother, 4 more sequels like we did originally. But I come back to constantly that I have a serious problem when the movie does not understand its tone. That is 101 for me. And this movie wanted it to be this dramatic family nightmare that they're going through and all of their issues, and then the most over-the-top Looney Tunes death you've ever seen in your life. And it's like, this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Does it want to be a cartoon, or does it want to be a horrific family nightmare? So I always say, get your tone straightened out first and foremost, and then I can kind of appreciate it more from there. But this movie wanted to have its cake and eat it too, and that drove me nuts, because you would get this like, how are we gonna live, and then a lawnmower eats a guy's face. It just doesn't track for me.
I echo a combination of things here. Okay, so like, for one thing, Jake, I 100% agree with you that this movie was made for people who are watching TikTok 24/7, 365.
And Brian, if I can cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
And if for anybody says that Brian and I are old people yelling at clouds, we have young people on with us. So
and I do. And here's the thing too.
I know a young person, and they
okay. Whoa.
Listen. Here's the other thing too. I also am a consumer of TikTok 24/7, 365. Okay, so I get it.
I'm watching TikTok 24/7, 365.
Right.
I was busy watching Final Destination, actually.
There you go. But my point is, I totally agree with you, Jake. I do think this movie is made for this current generation of young people who really are only interested in short micro content that grabs them in the first 2 seconds. And I think that's why a lot of this movie to me felt like it was very much a clip show of murders. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, if that's what you paid your $12-something to go to the movie theater to see, that's great. What I have a problem with is that, for me at least, and I would argue that I would ask anyone who'd seen Final Destination Bloodlines to tell me, how many of those characters did you give a shit about? Like, how many did you care? Did you care about any of them surviving? And my guess is that they probably don't know who those characters were, and probably more or less were like, I don't know, maybe, who knows? So like, for me, I felt that it was lacking in me giving a shit about who the characters were.
Yeah.
So that's just that.
Okay, so as we were talking about before with death and pronouns and all that, I 100% agree that Death could only be a man, because what a bitch, first of all. And also, like, not getting the job done. Like, come on, we don't let's hop to it. Anyways, I think that you, Brian, should reprise your role as the floating head, and
Nope.
you maybe could be death itself.
No.
In the
No,
next,
I'm not-
because we
I'm not
said
doing
death
that.
could only be a man, and you are a man. I'm assuming.
I did. No, I
No,
I
he's a
am.
man's man.
Apparently,
And
I am a man's man. No,
Final
no.
Destination 7, death
Brian's
itself,
the goat.
floating
I'd
head
pay
at
to
the
see that.
beginning of the movie.
People don't know. People don't know what you're talking about, Aero.
Yeah,
That's the
to
thing.
be
Oh,
clear, this is a
they love
conversation
you.
we had off camera.
This is an
where,
inside thing.
Brian did a narration for some of his kick-ass students. So
I did.
yeah,
did.
this is a pre-conversation. So I'm glad we brought it back. But for you, dear audience, who are like, "What the hell?"
Or it's like, why is Brian a floating head? Yes, I will. I think the film is up on YouTube, so I'll link to it in the description
we
of
plug
my.
Aces Wired. It's so good, and I loved it
Yes.
so much, and they're all so cool.
Yes, so I did. One of my student, well, all three of my students in the last class I taught on visual effects, they made an amazing film called Aces Wired, and just a small world. I mean, it's Pittsburgh, so it's like this biggest, smallest little city in the world, in my opinion. But Aero knew my students who made that film, and they had seen me floating head doing the news in the future, which is like a Blade Runner type of. Yeah, it was kind of a Blade Runner type thing. So I guess that's my calling there, is to take over for Tony Todd. Final Destination 7.
Final Destination 7, I think you could be
Those
Death.
are big shoes to fill. I don't know if I can fill them.
We've decided that Death is a man. So
I like to think I'm a bit better at that than Death is. Like, I don't know if I would take my sweet time with Rube Goldberg machines like he does. Be a bit more efficient, Death. Come on, people got things to do.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that.
But I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about both of yours film. So Jake, Aero, tell me about what it was like in the pressure cooker that is the 40-hour film project
here in Pittsburgh.
I didn't sleep.
Jake, you go first.
Who wants to start?
Because
You didn't sleep.
no, did not sleep.
Well, that was a good
Really?
I was going to test to this of how sleep deprived I was, because we decided to go and because you only have 48 hours to make a film, and so most people, one of the genres you could get was musical, and I'm a big fan of musicals. So I told everyone on the team saying, so no matter what genre we get, we're going to do a musical on top of everything else. Just make it harder on ourselves. Why not? Have some fun with it. And
So basically, if you've never done the 48 and been given a genre, we did the complete opposite of whatever we were given, which you're not supposed to do, but we did it anyways. Because why?
You're allowed to do
hell
that.
not?
because the genre we got was fish
Yeah.
out of water. So
You are.
we had, the plot was basically a satanic.
No, like it is. It's
Yeah,
still
the whole
fish.
plot of the film was a satanic cult.
Go.
Yeah, a satanic cult wanted to summon like a world-ending demon, and they summoned the wrong demon. Is the general plot of what you need to know, which is Aero here, the gay demon you all know and love, and
The gay demon you all know and love. I'm also British, and I'm also a punk singer. If that
Also
intrigues
British
anyone to
and a
watch
punk
it
singer.
anymore.
No, it was. I saw the film before we came on the call, and yeah, I was cracking up. I mean, one, it was beautifully shot and edited, and honestly, like, to see that done in 48 hours, and I know, like, I honestly, any group who does that, and I've done it, and John's done it, it's a pressure cooker of extremes, and you're lucky if you get something that comes out that is half decent, in my opinion, in that 40 hours. So, like, what I saw, what you guys made, was really, really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't deal with that pressure boiler of it. I've done two where I've done one where I directed and one where I did cinematography, but I'm like, from now on, I'm just acting in these things because it's just too damn stressful.
Well, even like we were filming in like the middle of nowhere, like an hour outside of Pittsburgh. And because we decided to do musical, our composer had us record all of our vocals the night before, and then we lip sync over top of them while we were filming. And we were up just strictly like recording vocals until like 4 a.m. like that Friday night. And then we went directly into filming the next morning. And so, like, right. There is no rest for anyone when you're doing a 48, honestly. And there was a lot less rest than usual for me just because we were doing something that required a lot more difficulty and a lot more effort from everyone. But it's difficult for everyone all around. But we did something really hard, and I'm really glad that everyone enjoyed it because it was hard to pull off, but I'm so glad that we did because so many people loved it, and I'm glad a lot of people really liked it.
We had a friend, a mutual friend between Brian and I, Tim Roberts, who, bless him, he's a man of extremes. I mean, at least he used to be back in the day. And there was a point where he was awake for 50 straight hours, and he said he fell asleep on the cold concrete of the editing lab because he said he started to hallucinate. Yeah. And he just couldn't stay awake any longer. And he's like, yeah, it's up to you guys because I need to basically go catatonic for a while.
Yes. You know? That Sunday, I was the only one who actually ended up staying along with Jake and our writer. Everyone else had left at that point, and I could have left, but Jake was so sleep deprived that he like couldn't clearly hear like the audio, and he was our editor at that point because we had an on-set editor, but they couldn't stay the full time, so Jake ended up editing the rest of the film all by himself, which he's never done before. And because he was so sleep deprived, he couldn't hear how good or bad the audio was. So I ended up being his ears the rest of that Sunday. And so they would just keep calling me in being like, Aero, does this sound okay? And I would be like, no, it does not. And I was a part of the editing process a little bit, not like actually editing it, but I was like picking up on things that they weren't. And so I was able to help with that. And that was also my first time doing that because this is my 5th or 6th 48, and I've always solely been an actor. But this time, I helped a little bit in the editing process. Not that the choreography was that grand, but I am credited for choreography and costume, even though the costume was just my actual clothes. Because I'm just cool like that. I don't know.
You're just cool like that, yeah.
Like I bring my own cool demon clothes with me. Like that's
I always have cool demon clothes on hand at any time for any occasion, and so luckily I had them this time. So this was also my first time being able to be part of other aspects of the 48 process other than just acting, which I really liked.
Let me ask you this: when and how can people see this?
Well, the film comes out at the end of this month on YouTube. It's called The Summoning, if we haven't said that already. But for some more local people in Pittsburgh, you may or may not want to be at the Steel City Horror Show at the Harris Theater in July. I can't say too much, but you may or may not want to be there. It's downtown. So
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
It's a cool show, and who knows what can happen? Who knows what could show? Right.
Anything could show there.
Anything can show.
I can't say anything. I don't know what's going to be there, but you may or may not want to be there is all I can say.
It could be the Criterion Collection of Froderick Got Fingered. You don't know, but it also could be other things.
Froderick Got Fingered. Oh, that's a callback there, John. That's one of our earlier episodes that we did in this podcast was we approached Freddie Got Fingered, and we if you've ever seen that film, it's a Tom Green film, and we approached it like we were film snobs.
It was our April Fool's.
It was our April Fool's, and I think it turned like people were confused. Like, do you think this movie is good? We're like, no, but
I'm like, Can you not see how pedantic we're being? Like how obnoxiously over the top we're being? Yeah. But
it's an early episode. But I gotta say, like, you know, Jake, Aero, I'm glad that we got to talk to you. I'm glad that I mean it sucks that you had to go to the emergency room and we didn't get a chance to do it in person. But I think this was fun.
We literally went straight, for other people who don't know, straight from the rap party, where actually that's where we found out we got 13 nominations. We were like, I think the second most nominated film, because Personal Baggage, shout out to them, they also did great. We went straight from the rap party to the ER, and that's where like our team celebrated all of our nominations was there. And so there's some pictures of me like sitting in a wheelchair, thumbs up, like being nominated for best leading actor. So I've never done that before. That was a new experience, but I'm able to come. Yes, you did, Jay. I'm glad we were able to come back and talk to you guys since we were busy.
Stop drinking champagne in the ER.
Yeah. So where can people find more information about you all and, you know, your what new things you might be doing, new projects? Where can they follow you at?
Yeah, I can go first.
Jake, you want to go first?
I'm on Instagram under jhecht33, or you could just type in Jacob Hecht, or I'm on Facebook. Those are like my two main like ways you can find and talk to me.
The only thing that I really post on is Instagram. My Instagram is aero.ray, just my name. Which, can other people see it on the screen?
I mean, we'll throw it in the description.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just aero.ray. That's my Instagram. I don't really post on anything else, but I've been posting updates on the summoning. So when the film officially comes out, I can have a link to it on there as well. I have some pictures from the award ceremony on there, my speech and stuff. I'll put some BTS as well once the film is actually out, if anyone's interested in seeing it. Can I just say, because I'm assuming we're the only group that you've talked to that wasn't at the rap party, or that didn't get to be interviewed at the rap party, we won 4 of our nominations.
Fantastic.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Fantastic. What were the 4 nominations? I know best actor was 1.
Yeah, we had 13 in all. We ended up winning Best Original Song, which was by our composer, Derek. Best Use of Character, which was me, of course. Isaac, who was our supporting actor, won Best Supporting Actor, and then I won runner-up for Best Leading Actor.
Robbed. Very robbed.
Well, I will say, Sean Collier, I think, was really gunning for me. He came up and talked to me personally after, and he was one of the judges. I think he was gunning for me, and the others, I don't know.
Yeah, you all were robbed.
He's a friend you want in this town.
Yeah,
stay close
to
Sean.
Awesome. Well, again, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you both, and especially talking about Final Destination Bloodlines. John, where can they find you at on the internets?
Let's see, Instagram to Facebook. I'm not on Elon Musk's stupid Y or whatever he calls it any longer. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a breeding ground for destruction and hate. But yeah, you can find me over at YouTube. I am tomorrow, after we film this, not when you're listening to it, but when we film this, I'm going to be doing my So Many Questions Lost World. Going to be videoing that so I can start chopping that together. And I'll say, Aero and Jake, who can't hear me, if you want to subscribe to J Dubs Video Nasties on YouTube, I'd love you forever. It's my cheap plug at you guys. But yeah, with the new Jurassic Park movie coming out, I wanted to take a look at the absurd rewriting of Jurassic Park's own history with the new movie coming out. So be on the lookout for that before the new Jurassic Park movie comes out.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Cool.
And of course, if you have loved this podcast, do me a favor and share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with anyone who really gets a kick out of these Final Destination movies and likes seeing people die. That's who you want to share it to. Of course, you can follow us on your favorite podcast platform of choice by going to cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. If you go to that website, you're going to notice a couple different changes. I've been mucking around with our website and have given it a very necessary refresh that brings it into the 2020s because it's been very long in the tooth in terms of design. So I've been trying to teach myself a little bit of web design and make it a little bit more spiffy. So you might see it looks a little bit nicer than it used to. But yes, cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. And of course, if you are watching us here on YouTube, hey, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the like bell, and the bell for post notifications. That stuff really does help us out in the YouTube algorithm. It gives more and more people kind of eyes on our stuff. And hey, you know what? Let us know in the comments what you thought of Final Destination Bloodlines 2. Maybe we're wrong, or maybe Aero's wrong, or maybe Jake's wrong, or maybe you agree with us. Let us know in the comments.
I liked it. Either way.
Yeah, Aero liked it. John and I were like, eh. But with that said, we will see you next time.
Destination, noun, the place to which someone or something is going or being sent.